Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, an independent podcast app that embraces the open world of podcasting instead of locking it down. No exclusives, no premium content, no paywalls. Just a great podcast app for everyone. Get it for free in the App Store.
And we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from our respective homes in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye, the movie guy. And this week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we're talking settings. You like the setting that we're in right now at our respective homes?
No, to be completely honest, I don't. I'm tired of talking to people through computer screens. I would love to be back in the setting of our amazing studio, but here we are.
Yeah, that was a great setting when we were able to bring people in and talk face-to-face. I agree with you.
Yeah, indeed.
Now, a lot of times in movies, Matt, a setting is so good, it becomes a character in the film. And we're going to cover those type of settings this week on Cinemajaw with our top 5 settings that are actually characters within the movie.
I'm excited, Ryan. Like you said, this setting is becoming a character on the show. And I can't wait for it to be 86th.
It ties into one of 2 reviews we have this week, Matt.
Indeed, yes. We're covering Relic, in which the setting of sort of a haunted house is very much a character in the film, as well as the new Tom Hanks vehicle, Greyhound, which you could say, the ocean being the setting, also somewhat applies.
Yep. And to help us review a Relic, and he's going to take you on in trivia. It's a first time appearance, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, and this is another one I would love to have had in studio. Chuck Koplinski, one half of the amazing team of Chuck and Pam, is here in studio on Zoom.
All right, Matt, and because Tom Hanks is starring in the new film Greyhound, which is out on Apple TV Plus, you are going to take Chuck on in Tom Hanks quotes movie trivia.
Oh my
I'm going to read off famous quotes that Tom Hanks has given us, and they're not all the easy ones, and you got to tell me what movie they were from.
Okay. All right. I'm going to die, but all right.
If that wasn't enough, Matt, we are still celebrating Charlize Theron this month, so let's start with a Charlize Theron fact.
All right, Ryan. Charlize Theron was discovered in a very interesting way. When she moved to Hollywood, she was just 18 years old. She lived paycheck to paycheck. One day, she was at the bank trying to cash a check. The bank was having an issue and couldn't give her the money. In dire need of it, she began to beg and plead, and little did she know it would become sort of an audition, as her future manager was there watching her the whole time. He gave her his card afterward. Her first film would be 1995's Children of the Corn 3.
Oh, what a credit to have under your belt.
Well, hey, we all start somewhere, Ryan, you know?
I would love to be part of the Children of the Corn series.
Let us not forget that Reese Witherspoon and Matthew McConaughey were in one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films.
That's Renee Zellweger.
It was Renee Zellweger. Thank you for the correction, yes. But, I mean, either one of those, you know?
Yeah, you're right. They all do got to start somewhere. A bank is a good place to get a start.
Hey, why not?
All right, it's going to be a jam-packed jaw, Matt.
As always.
So without further ado, we bring in our guest. Chuck Koplinski is part of Real Talk with Chuck and Pam. It's about time we say, Chuck, welcome to Cinemajaw.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. I really do. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sort of been saving this one in our back pocket because we really did want to have you in studio. But as Ryan said, it's overdue that we finally have the second half of this great team on Cinemajaw.
Well, I appreciate that, and maybe one day, hopefully soon, it can be an in-studio thing.
We'll make it happen.
Now, Chuck, you're calling us from actually a little bit downstate in Illinois, which Urbana for our listeners. It's about center of the state. It's pretty close to center.
Yeah, yeah. It's hot. We have the university, and we have corn, and that's about it.
And now Pam is just a little bit like north of you, or Kankakee. I get a little off on my geography, but a little north, right?
Yeah, we're about an hour apart. So she's about an hour south of Chicago. I'm about 2 hours south of Chicago. So yeah, she's kind of in between.
So did you meet Pam downstate, or was it up at one of the Chicago screenings?
I come up for the screenings, and that was where I met her. Actually, I remember the movie. It was The Legend of Tarzan at the IMAX. She made the mistake of sitting next to me during that, and she mentioned that she was writing for the Kankakee Journal. I was born and raised in Kankakee. From there on, that's how it started.
You know what's funny about the dynamics of your team? It's very similar to me and Ryan, where you are sort of into the popular movies, comic book films, and such, or at least that's your personality. And Pam is very much more geared toward the softer art housey type movies.
You mean I know what I'm talking about and she doesn't? I mean, is that the dynamic?
Wow, a zinger right away.
Pam's going to be listening to this, Chuck. You know that, right?
I know she's listening to it, or she will be. That's why I said that. That being said, I know that the listeners can't see this, but I'm going to hold up my screen thing here. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Wow, it looks autographed too. That's awesome.
I have a collection of autographed posters, and there's my Sense and Sensibility autographed posters. So yes, I do like popular films, but I have no problem doing the artsy fartsy stuff when it's well done.
Fair enough.
I'm much more open-minded than Miss Powell. Let's just say that.
She does seem to have a problem with some of the movies that I tend to like, but that's why I'm good friends with her, because she sort of can balance that taste.
Yes, you need that. You need that balance. And I will say she is open-minded. If I'll throw something her way that's not in her wheelhouse, she'll give it a shot. Genuinely. I mean, she might not watch the whole thing, but she will give things a shot. So she's open-minded. And as you guys know, when you're a film critic or any sort of critic, you've got to be open-minded. I don't like musicals, but we have to see musicals, and usually I'm pleasantly surprised. So you can't have that tunnel vision that sometimes creeps in.
For sure.
Since you just brought up musicals, and Hamilton just came out on Disney Plus, did you watch it, Chuck, and what were your thoughts?
I'm going to speak sacrilege here and say I have no interest in all. No interest in watching this thing. I have a feeling it's one of those things where the hype has been so big that when I watch it, I will be sure to be disappointed. So I think I'm just going to have to wait until the fervor dies down, and then maybe I'll give it a shot.
Thank you for that opinion, by the way, because I share it 100%. Like, my kids went to Hamilton, waiting online for tickets and this and that. They came home with souvenirs dripping from their arms, like it's an event, and I just couldn't care less.
Like it's an event. It was an event. It is an event, Matt.
So the movie is going to be an event too, right?
Yeah. Matt acts like he doesn't even know what this movie. This is the filming stage adaptation. So it's just the Broadway show finally released on Disney Plus. It's probably the most streamed thing of the year. Matt's like, the movie? Back on track here. How long have you been reviewing films?
Oh, geez. My first written review was Tin Cup with Kevin Costner.
Yep.
90s.
The golf movie. Yeah.
The 90s. So yeah, mid-90s, I would say, somewhere in there. So I'd say about 25 years. 25 years, maybe a little bit more. Of course, I started having opinions when I was about 8 years old, but as far as really writing them, about 25 years.
The website is Real Talk with Chuck and Pam, and I was there today prepping for this, and I noticed you guys more or less can do everything there, because you guys do segments on a local TV show down there. I think it's WCIA.
Yeah, WCIA.
And so you got all the sort of like YouTube videos there. You also got written reviews and a podcast. It's all in one space, right?
Yeah, we thought that, there are so many different platforms, as you guys know, as far as getting the word out. And it can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for us to try and, cover everything. And it's overwhelming for people to try and keep track. So we're trying to just, like you say, just keep it all centralized and just grow from there, hopefully.
Well, it's definitely something to applaud that you guys are tackling as many platforms as you can, with the writing, the TV. You're also on the radio, correct?
Yeah. We're
it's king of media.
Well, we're like a medium-sized fish in a little pond down here. We're on WCIA, the TV station, twice a week. We're on 94.5 FM every Friday morning. So, like I say, we're trying to cover our bases in a place where they had no coverage. And I like to think that maybe people do listen to us. They stop and talk to us when they see us, and that's nice. So, just trying to get the word out down here. Talk about children of the corn. They're walking around down here.
Yeah.
I got to ask you a question. We just recently filled out a survey from like publicists wanting to know how eager we would be to go back to the theater for screenings. And me and Matt are a little bit different on that going through this pandemic. Where do you sit? Where do you feel safe going back to the theater?
Yeah, I do. I can't wait, quite frankly. I don't know about you guys, but it's not simply just the experience of going, but the quality of films. I know that you guys, just like us, have been getting a lot of screeners for films, independent films that go straight to video, things of that nature. And just the quality of the films out of Hollywood. I miss that. I miss the experience. So yeah, I am ready to go back. We have a drive-in down here, and that's, some sort of solace if they would actually show something decent. But there's nothing like that communal experience. And I think if we're all careful and use our heads, there's no reason why we can't go back.
Yeah, I mean, I was the one I'm a little bit more cautious. I think a drive-in is a great happy medium in the meantime. And I'm also okay with the screeners, but I do miss it. Of course I miss it. How could you not?
Yeah. I'm right with you. I'm dying to get back there, Chuck. You probably heard us say it's Charlize Theron month here, and I wanted to throw you a question, put you on the spot, and ask you your favorite Charlize Theron movie.
Oh, well, I suppose Mad Max would be a cop-out because that's probably a lot of people's favorite Charlize Theron movie. One of the great injustices as far as the Academy Awards are concerned that she was not nominated that year. But I'm going to pull one out that a lot of people don't remember. In the Valley of Ella with Tommy Lee Jones, a movie that a lot of people don't know. She plays a police officer who's investigating a brutal murder that happens just outside a military base. She has to go toe-to-toe with the military officials, and Tommy Lee Jones plays the father of one of the Marines, or of the Marine that was killed. And he comes in on the investigation too. A really smart film, and she gives a really understated performance for her, and that would be one that if people are looking for something new or haven't seen that one, I would definitely recommend that one, In the Valley of Ella.
Wow, what around what year was that?
I want to say 2012. I've got it right here.
Okay.
On my shelf here. But yeah, I want to say about in 2012. Paul Haggis.
Okay.
Was the writer and director on that. And James Franco's in it, and Susan Sarandon is Tommy Lee Jones' wife.
Fairly recent. Interesting.
Yeah, like I say, it was one of those that, it's not a chase movie. It's not an action film. It just kind of slipped under the radar. 2008, I'm sorry.
There you go. Yeah. I saw that one. I remember what really sticks with me, too, is that final shot of the upside-down flag really hits you.
And couldn't be more timely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally. Again, for the jawheads that want to check out your reviews, written, spoken, visual, where should we send them, Chuck?
Real Talk with Chuck and Pam. That's REEL. RealTalkWithChuckandPam.com. Everything's there.
Bingo. Do it, jawheads.
All right, Matt. In 1997, there was a movie called The Relic. It was about a lizard-like monster on the loose in a Chicago museum, and it starred Tom Sizemore. This latest feature from IFC Films, which is available on VOD, is just called Relic. The story is centered on 3 women, a grandmother, a mom, and a daughter. And I'm glad to say it is way scarier than the lame Tom Sizemore monster flick. Matt, Chuck, and I climbed into our crawl space to check this little indie film out.
Do you know where you were, Mum?
I suppose I went out.
What's this?
I was on the property when your grandfather inherited it. His mind wasn't there in the end.
You can't put Gran in a home.
She can't live on her own anymore. She has to be watched.
Everything all right, Gran?
I thought this was where it got in.
Who?
Whoever it was coming into the house.
Mum, what is it?
It's here. Under the bed.
There's nothing under the bed, Mum.
Would you check for me?
On the surface, you could call Relic a family drama. The story begins when Edna, the grandmother I spoke about, goes missing. She's elderly and lives on her own in a creepy house that seems to be filled with a dark mold in spots. Her daughter, Kay, comes to the house with her own daughter, Sam, to find out where she went to. After a day or so of searching the nearby woods, Edna appears back in the house as if nothing happened. From here, Kay must decide what is best for her aging mother. Should she move back into the house to care for her? Should she look into a retirement home? While this research is being done, strange things start to take place in the house. The setting of this old house made me uneasy. It is filled with dread and this dark mold I spoke of. Throw in some strange sounds, and, well, it's not a place I would want to spend the night. To borrow a line from Matt Kay, horror is at its best when it says something, and this is where Relic shines. Themes of aging, regret, how to care for your parents when they get to a certain age, and the dread that we will all be there someday. It covers it all. Some scary movies give you a thrill and then leave your headspace quickly. Not the case with Relic. The ending of the film swirled emotions in me from fear, heartache, and love. I was all kinds of messed up when this film ended. Matt, did Relic get under your skin as much as it did mine?
Yeah, it made me want to slowly peel off my skin and lay bare the creature within. Ryan, thanks, by the way, for quoting me about horror. Yes, when something real is being explored, it's always better than a hack and slash gore fest. Some very real and relatable themes are explored triumphantly by Relic. Many times films hide their themes, preferring viewers to traverse the maze and suss out what layers are hidden. Relic, inversely, wisely uses its short runtime to make its themes ironically easy to guess. I say ironically since the theme in question is the maze of the human mind and how we are all trapped within it. Early in life, we more or less learn all the turns and hallways within our own mind, but as we age, those landmarks can seem to shift and the familiar succumbs to dementia and mental disease. There's also this theme of generational responsibility that you mentioned, how we care for our own parents or grandparents and how that fate will surely be our own one day. While easy enough to pick out these themes, they're nonetheless creatively developed, deep, and given scare power and gravitas. As someone who watched an Alzheimer's affected grandmother and the effect it had on my parents, I can tell you firsthand that this movie has not pulled any punches. And we also have to discuss the role of women in horror. All throughout the 80s, 90s, and into the aughts, frankly, you might be hard-pressed to find a horror movie that treated women as anything other than scream machines at best, with few exceptions. Thankfully, that has begun to change with voices like Jennifer Kent, who gave us The Babadook, and now Relic, the directorial debut of another Australian female filmmaker, Natalie Erica James. James has also chosen to tell the story of 3 generations of women. The lead actors here are central to the film's success, especially Robin Nevin, who plays the elderly Edna. She was able to make me love her, pity her, be repulsed by her, and terrified of her all at the same time, often within one scene, Rye. I hope to see this feminine shift in horror coming out of Australia continue, because thus far it has been as interesting as hell. And I'll end where you did, Ryan, at the end. The story doesn't so much end as it gives in. It resigns itself to the fate it has laid out. Endings are especially tricky in horror and often rely on a cheesy wink that a sequel is in the works. Relic twists even that convention. Surely a sequel of sorts is in store for the heroes, but I doubt there's another film to be had here. As generational horror goes, this may be the best entry I've seen in a long time.
Wow, we are both high on this film. We turn to Chuck. Were you as high on it as we are?
I really liked the third act. I thought the third act was fantastic. It feels long to me, though.
Really?
Even at 90 minutes, I thought the first half hour just drug and drug. I really like what this Natalie Erica James. I'm anxious to see what she does next, because I thought that, as I say, the potential there is incredible. That last act really had me, and I agree with you guys as far as the symbolism that is concerned with the house, reflecting her mind, and how it's closing in the mold and how it's clogging things up, and it wants to consume, the granddaughter, and she can't get away. I mean, the symbolism and the metaphors there I thought were incredibly, incredibly powerful. And I'm glad I stuck with it. But I had some real problems with the pacing of this film. And actually there were a couple of scenes as I was watching, I was like, wow, that needs to go. That needs to go. You guys know that with horror films, pacing is so important. It's so important. You can't, it has to steadily build. And I had a hard time with that. But I can't wait to see what this next movie is that this woman does. Because the stuff that I liked, I really, really liked.
Yeah, Matt, you had mentioned how twists and turns of a house is sort of like the human mind metaphor. But also, I was really focused in on how the hallway and everything was sort of getting closer and closed in on her. And to me, it was representing that there's no way out of everybody going through this cycle. And it's something that's probably been on my mind a lot. I at this point, I have an aging father and thinking about things. And I'm telling you, I haven't been this messed up from a movie where I needed to watch something afterwards to completely clear my head of Relic, because I don't think I would have been able to sleep, because it would have just been constantly turning all those wheels in my mind.
Yeah, there's a claustrophobia that sets in, and literally in some scenes, one of the characters gets trapped. I don't want to spoil anything, but in a mysterious section of the house, the walls quite literally start to squeeze in. I agree with you, and I didn't necessarily have a problem with the pacing, Chuck. I thought that the sense of dread that the movie built with this slow burn, and it's not for everyone. I totally agree. It is a little bit slow, but because the runtime was so short, I felt like it got over that slowness at just the right times to keep me interested, and I never felt bored by it. And I liked the creeping dread. I love atmospheric horror where there's that slow dread that builds. And I don't know, I was okay with it.
Well, I'm glad you had mentioned the Babadook earlier, because that was the movie I kept bouncing this one off of. It reminded me so much of it, as far as the claustrophobia, as far as the symbolism of the internal emotions. I mean, the Babadook is all about guilt and rage that's been suppressed, and this is something, rather similar. The image I can't get out of my head is at the end, is when all three of the women are laying down.
Mm.
And the suggestion that this is a hereditary condition, and none of them are going to escape this.
No,
The daughter's not, and the granddaughter's not, and it's like, my God, that to me was the whole horror of the situation, and I love that.
Absolutely, it's contention for shot of the year, to be absolutely honest. It really was something. Yeah, loved it.
It was very, very Cronenberg-esque there, directly preceding the cuddle, if you will.
Yeah, good. That's a good analogy. That's right.
You got a movie poster quote for me, Matt?
I do. A moldy window into an all too common experience of aging. What do you think?
I like it.
It's
I
okay?
do like that one.
Okay.
Absolutely. I went with the kind of film that seeps into your thoughts and stays there.
It's good. It's good.
We're on a 4-jaw scale here. Chuck, how many jaws?
I'm going to go 2.5 jaws.
Matt K?
I went 3 jaws for this one. I might even give it 3.5. I got to watch it again, but it was up there for me.
I did go 3.5 jaws. For me, it sounds odd to say this, but I think the listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. This was a movie that I would hate to almost rewatch again because it bothered me so much, but I loved that it did bother me so much,
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you're going through an experience like this, and I went through it with a grandparent, and I think many people go through experience like this. So it will affect people. It will hit close to home for many people.
Relic is streaming video on demand. It's also playing in some of the theaters that are open. We should mention Music Box Theater here in Chicago, which is slowly opening. I think they're at 25% capacity, is playing Relic. It's also at drive-ins, so you can look it up there. If you see it, like it, love it, hate it, let us know. Shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw, or you can always email us, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Okay, so Chuck will be joining us again for the review of Greyhound and also taking Matt on in trivia. But me and Matt, having the idea of this creepy haunted house in Relic, thought it'd be a good idea to name another top 5 list of settings that actually become characters in the movie. And this was a little bit difficult to research, at least on my end. How'd you find it, Matt?
Oh, yeah. I found it incredibly difficult to research because, first of all, the terms, if you're looking up the best comedies, the best swimming pool scenes, stuff like we've done, these things pop up and you have many to choose from to create your own top 5 list. But when you type in setting as a character, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to do a different kind of research, change your terms up, and you also just have to think about it. I looked at my collection on the shelf, this kind of thing, to sort of get the gears turning.
Yep, I'm right with you. I went through my entire collection, writing stuff down. I was like, that sort of works. Let me think about it.
Did you set yourself any parameters?
Really what I wanted to do was not just pick houses or spaceships or something. I wanted to do a little bit of everything. So I got some houses in there.
I didn't even think of spaceships.
I got a city in there. I tried to change it up as much as I possibly could.
For me, I wanted to pick places. So I took setting as a character a little bit more serious or a little bit more literal. I wanted to pick places, settings that seem to have their own motivations and intentions that either drove the plot or affected the characters, but they could almost act independently as a character in the film.
Mine are definitely all characters in the film, 100%.
Okay. All right.
You want to get us started this week?
I would be honored. So here we go. At number 5, you're going to have to forgive this one because it's not necessarily remembered very fondly in the Pixar pantheon of films, but I think it's a good movie. Definitely not top tier Pixar, but I liked Radiator Springs in the movie Cars quite a bit.
This is a number 5 pick on Matt.
This is a number 5 pick.
Oh my God.
When you talk,
good.
Listen.
You just you listen. You just sold me so well on your parameters, right? You sold me so well.
Right.
I thought, wow, Matt really put some time in on this one. And then you come out of the gate with
Radiator Springs. Yeah.
Oh, go to.
Because, no, don't tell me. Listen, okay, you've got to listen to me. Let me sell you on this, okay? First of all, Radiator Springs, in and of itself, the world building that Pixar put into this film, where even the little bugs buzzing around the lights were little Volkswagen Beetles, was great. The bluffs when they look out over the canyon, because this is supposed to be in the Midwest, are shaped like cars. Yeah, not the Midwest. Sorry, the Southwest are shaped like cars. Everything has an auto feel to it because when a human looks out over the landscape, we see human shapes or animal shapes that we're familiar with, and here you see auto shapes. And I just thought that they crafted the world perfectly. But then the story of Radiator Springs, how it was this oasis on Route 66 that was a boom town in its day, and then when the highway bypassed it, the town dies, is an American story that you can see pockmarks across the landscape. If you've ever been on a road trip, you know that this is a true story in a sense. And we got to see Radiator Springs sort of rejuvenate. It comes back to life by the end of the film where they pave the road freshly and they're driving on it. So is Cars one of the best Pixar movies? No. But it's a slice of Americana, and Radiator Springs is absolutely a character in the film. It's that small town, they brought it to life, and it's a piece of America that we can all sort of relate to.
You know what, Matt? You still didn't sell me on it.
Oh, damn it, I tried. Someone out there agrees.
Swings it over to my number 5, and I go with a Guillermo del Toro film. And this is a director that pays excruciating amount of detail to settings, characters, creatures. So when you're watching a Del Toro film that the setting has the chance to be something special. And this is probably a film that most people aren't on board with all the way when you look at his filmography. Wasn't very highly praised. Came out in 2015, Crimson Peak. And this starred Tom Hiddleston, Jessica Chastain, and Hiddleston plays an Englishman who marries a young American and then goes back to his house in England. And this is the setting. It's called Allerdale Hall, a mansion that is falling apart. And the look of this place is incredible. And of course, the wife that he has married starts to figure something out, that he's also had these past wives that were all rich and well-to-do, and they've gone missing, and the mystery starts. The movie might not be top tier Del Toro, but at least the setting, the look of the film, all top notch. Not to mention, this mansion is on top of a red clay mine, which is key to this movie. So this is a huge character in the movie, is the setting in Crimson Peak.
You give me crap for picking a bottom tier Pixar film, and then you go ahead and pick a bottom tier Del Toro film. So you're a hypocrite.
Not even close.
You're a
Matt,
hypocrite, rather. I think they're pretty damn close. I think they're damn close. I think they're the exact same thing. At number 4, I'm just going to come right out with it, the NCOM mainframe from the movie Tron. Talk about setting as a character when the dude, Jeff Bridges, is zapped by the laser by the MCP and arrives inside the digital world of the NCOM mainframe. We had never seen anything like it in all of our movie-going experiences. As a kid, I remember seeing this movie and just being blown away. And then as an adult, learning that they literally painted over every frame of this movie to give it that glow. It's just magical. And the mainframe itself had a very sinister feel because it was ruled by the evil MCP that was trying to destroy the users and take over the world. It was such a cool setting that we had absolutely never seen. They tried to recapture that with Tron Legacy. I don't necessarily think they completely failed, but you just can't get that lightning in a bottle again that they really did with the original Tron.
Now, I don't know. I was going through Twitter, I want to say just yesterday, and I saw news of Disney committing to a Tron 3. I'm going to throw it in the jaw box, see if we can find anything at the break, if there is truth that there will be another Tron. I like this pick, Matt. I'm a big fan of the Tron series.
Same. Thanks, Ryan.
My number 4 is a setting that I've actually been to.
Oh, interesting.
Do you have any on your list that you've actually been to?
Well, I've been to the NCOM mainframe a few times.
So my number 4 is a film that came out in 1979. I remember seeing this when I was a kid. It was probably on television. My dad watched it, and I watched it with him, and then later went and visited this because it is a tourist attraction. And then after visiting it, came home as an adult now at this point and watched the movie and just absolutely loved it. The setting is Alcatraz. The movie is Escape from Alcatraz, 1979, directed by Don Siegel, starring Clint Eastwood. You ever see this one?
Oh, yeah. I've seen Escape from Alcatraz. Yeah, you could also go, wasn't 12 Angry Men also set in Alcatraz, or am I mixing
12 Angry Men is just in a courthouse.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so
you're thinking Murder in the First, maybe, or something.
Maybe. There have been other films in Alcatraz.
But this is the most notable. As far as, it's telling the story of the 1962 escape where 3 prisoners from Alcatraz dug through walls, and they ended up making papier-mâché dummies of themselves so that prison guards thought they were still sleeping in their beds. And they ended up making rafts because they needed to get over to the bay. This Alcatraz is in San Francisco Bay. And
it's an island.
It's an island, right. And when I went to San Francisco, and knowing what I've heard about Alcatraz was the idea that it was supposed to be impossible to escape from, seeing it and seeing how choppy the waters are there, and actually going out there, you got to get on a boat and you take a tour and they drive you out to Alcatraz. And it's just a creepy grounds. You're walking around this old jail. It's closed now. And they actually preserved the cells of where these prisoners dug the holes. So you can actually see their cells and see the holes that they dug through the walls and got into the escape route and how they got out. the movie, going back and watching that, there's still questions to if these escapees actually survived. And they did find parts of these raincoats, which were makeshift rafts, on the other side of the bay. So my guess is probably survived, even though they never resurfaced in the public anywhere. A lot of people thought they may have drowned while trying to escape. It's a great story. It's a great movie. And Alcatraz is a character for sure in the movie. Escape from Alcatraz, I highly recommend it.
That's a good pick, Ryan. Into our number threes we go. I am picking a setting that has been a character in many movies, several at least. I think different filmmakers have tackled this setting and brought their own personal panache and style to it. But I'm going with the most recent depiction, which I think brought it to life in a way that it had not been used before, as an actual character in the film that has its own motivations and drives the plot in its own way. Gotham City in Joker. Blank-faced again, huh? You don't like this one either, Ryan? All right.
No, I mean, this is, you got to sell me on this one too. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't, because this is a good movie we're talking about. Joker was fantastic, and yes, the movie pivots on Joaquin Phoenix's amazing performance, but set against the backdrop of Gotham City. This is set in the 80s. There is a garbage strike going on, so we see that the streets are just strewn with trash and dirty, and then the people of Gotham are starting to revolt, which, you know, is something we've recently gone through, some civil unrest and major protests, and that's sort of something you see in this film as well. And you see the city sort of just rise up against everything that's going on, and people start to impersonate this Joker persona, and everybody's wearing these clown masks. And I think that's all part of the Gotham City setting coming to life as a character in the film. And it's done really well. You can't have the Joker without Gotham,
I guess.
It's not just something that Batman's going to swing around in. In this movie, it actually lives and breathes.
Swings it over to my number three, Matt.
Jesus, no respect, I tell you.
And actually, when you're talking settings, probably a lot of people out there are thinking horror movies, because a good setting is key to good horror a lot of times. And such is the case to my number three pick. This movie came out in 2006. I have talked about it before. I'm a huge fan of this one. And at the time, before the movie came out, I actually thought I could go down and explore caves. This could be something I could handle. But then I saw the movie The Descent, and everything changed. I don't think I would be willing or wanting to go, what's the term?
Spelunking?
Yes, splunking into a cave. No chance after seeing this. The cave in The Descent, and the way it was filmed, the darkness, the claustrophobia, everything about it scared the hell out of me. No, I'm not going in the cave.
Got to catch up with this one because it pops up on so many lists. But I would be okay with spelunking, except for those really tight tunnels where you have to like crawl. I couldn't do that. I could not do that. But put me in a nice cavern, sure, no problem. I like the stalactites and stalagmites. Back over to me. This is a film I think we're both big fans of. You're going to give me guff for this one too. And in all honesty, maybe you could put Gotham City above this, but I put this one at number 2 because of its originality. Like the mainframe in Tron, we hadn't seen a setting quite like this. Even films like Blade Runner, which get close, don't quite capture the dystopian future of the film Dread. And what I'm talking about in particular is Peach Trees, which is one tower block in Mega City 1. And inside this block is basically a city in and of itself.
This is a great pick, Matt. I would have actually had this maybe on my list had I thought of it.
Okay. The setting is absolutely a character. It's a city that is built like kind of like a layer cake, right? And as Dredd, who is, as we all know, sort of judge, jury, and executioner, is called to the scene, he knows right away the challenges he's going to face having to go up this tower to solve this crime. And as he goes, you see the layers change and the strata of this city that's built vertically. It's an amazing setting. It's very unique. It presented unique challenges and also probably unique opportunities for the filmmakers to get away with, and just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I love that pick. Great
Wow.
movie in 3D too. Like that one. My number 2 pick, this is where I went with a city. And this movie came out in 1998. This is actually, I can say the same, Matt. I think we're both fans of this movie. It's a film that actually the late, great Roger Ebert was a huge fan of. It actually made his number 1 movie of 1998. I'm going with Dark City. And this is
good pick.
The city in Dark City, which is very unique because the city actually moves at night when everybody sort of sleeps, and there's a moment in time where everybody pauses and they don't know what is going on. A lot of people are losing their memory on exactly what was happening. The city actually shifts, buildings move, things happen, and they don't know why. They don't know what's going on, and we, the viewers, don't quite understand. It's like a slow reveal all the way to the end when this big reveal happens, and we're all in on it. Really excellent movie. Dark, thought-provoking, Dark City. See it.
Kiefer Sutherland.
He is in it. Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The two of them together, chef's kiss. Love it. All right. Into our number ones we go. Here we go, Ryan. Our number ones settings as character in the film. I toyed with just leaving this off the list because I guess it's kind of obvious, but nobody does it better than Stan. And I'm going with the Overlook Hotel from The Shining as my number 1 character. And it's also a setting as a character in the film Dr. Sleep. Fantastic. But really, Kubrick did it the best in The Shining. That shot of them driving to the Overlook Hotel, and we fly over the lake as we follow Jack's car. And finally, when you arrive and you see the grand hotel and the vastness of it, and then as the ghosts start to emerge, and the bartender and the little girls in the hallway and the witch in the bathtub, like all of it. The best haunted house movie, the best setting as a character, maybe of all time.
Figured it would be on your list. No surprise there. My number 1 is actually the most recent film on my list. I'm actually excited to say it's the first time that this movie is appearing on a top 5 list here on Cinemajaw, but it won't be the last. I'm sure this movie will come up time and time again throughout the years. 2019 Best Picture winner, directed by Bong Joon-ho, Parasite. The house in Parasite is literally incredible for a setting. And the movie itself is about social class divide. It's multi-layered, and he uses vertical aesthetic throughout the film. And the Parks house, which is the main setting here, is no exception. So many key moments are highlighted by the house's design. The living room, for instance, with the large windows looking out into the yard. The steps in the kitchen that lead down to the storage room. I could go on and on. I even like the steps that lead up into the house. I think it's from the garage that is used a couple of times. Very vertical motif used constantly throughout the entire film and within the house on purpose as he's talking about class. And it's just an amazing movie. I rewatched it and I can't believe it. And the house is just, it's gorgeous. The setting, I love it.
Dude, I still have to watch Parasite, man. This is one of those movies that and I'm sure Jawheads can relate to this, like my wife really wants to see. So we've been setting these dates. We'll watch it tonight. And then something happens. One of the kids has a bad dream or can't sleep, or one of us is tired and just doesn't feel like watching a movie, or we're not in the right mood, and it just hasn't happened. And I can't watch it on my own. I need to watch it with her. So it just hasn't come to pass.
I would have given up on that already. Honorable mentions here before we go to break. I have a few here. This is my water series, okay? I got 3 movies in my water series. Life Aquatic, love it. Poseidon Adventure.
Sure. Don't say Titanic. Just don't.
Actually, now that you said it, Titanic is a great one. But I was actually going to say Deepwater Horizon, which was a movie that we didn't really like with Mark Wahlberg, where he's on the oil rig But when you're talking about a setting, it's quite important how they break down the workings of that rig and how it all works. We move on to The Wizard of Oz. All of Oz is a great setting and
I
character.
agree.
I was going to go there, but we talk about this movie quite a bit. In Bruges, Bruges is clearly a character in the movie. Ready or Not, the house in Ready or Not, which just came out last year. Jurassic Park, the actual park. Panic Room, made reference to it just last week. Panic Room, the house and the room itself. And last but not least, Grey Gardens, which is the documentary, and they even made a dramatization of it, the actual Grey Gardens in Grey Gardens.
All right, I got two quick honorable mentions. And again, I was going with settings as characters that actually have their own motivations and minds of their own almost.
Yeah, like Radiator Springs, right?
Like Radiator Springs is a living, breathing place.
Absolutely.
The Amityville house from Amityville Horror.
Better than Radiator Springs. I like that pick.
Talk about having a mind of its own. And I mean, it literally has eyes. When the lightning would flash, you'd see those windows look like a skull. It was awesome. The woods in Evil Dead 2. We're never quite shown what's in the woods, but there are these camera movements that Raimi uses that fly through the woods. And there's one point where a woman is attacked in the woods by the woods themselves, which is a scene that will burn itself into your mind. It's terrifying.
If we missed your favorite setting that is a character in a film, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw, or you can write us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. What we're going to do is take a break. When we come back, Chuck is going to rejoin us for a review of Greyhound, plus take Matt on in movie trivia. Stick with us.
Mining the depths of the streaming menu so you don't have to. Here's Rye's hidden gem.
Kevin James, the funny man behind comedies such as King of Queens and Paul Blart Mall Cop, is not so funny in the latest film, Becky. He plays a Nazi skinhead who escapes from prison with 3 other inmates. They go to a secluded house looking for something. Inside that house is a family of 4. The father is played by Joel McHale, and his daughter, Becky, played by newcomer Lulu Wilson. This film can best be described as a gory, R-rated version of Home Alone. If you're looking for something thrilling that also has some laughs and is also a little tough to watch because of all the violence, well then Becky is for you. It is available on VOD and on Blu-ray. We're available. Check it out. Ride the Movie Guy, 2.5 Jaws for Becky.
This week, in honor of our continuing celebration of Charlize Theron, we bring you this scene from Young Adult.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
What do you mean, nothing? My God, what is wrong with you? Are you like one of those little kids who need a fucking chart to learn feelings? Stand up for yourself. Why are you covering for me?
That's enough, Mavis. You're drunk.
Oh, I've been drunk since I've been back, Mom, and nobody gave 2 shits until this one got all bent out of shape.
Mavis, what the hell's going on?
Why did you invite me?
I didn't invite you. My wife did. Beth practically forced me to call you. She feels sorry for you. We all do, Mavis. It's obvious you're having some mental sickness, some depression. You're very lonely and confused. So Beth made me invite you here, even though I knew it was a mistake. I knew it.
You're lying.
He's not.
What about now? You hate me now? Because it should be easy, because I fucking hate you. Look at you. What is wrong with you people?
Mavis, honey.
I know. I came back for you. For you. And I hate this town. It's a heck lake town that smells of fish shit. But I came back. Just wanted you to know that.
back on Cinemajaw, hanging out with Chuck Koplinski. Before we get to our review of Greyhound and before we play some movie trivia, we did throw one item into the jaw box. So why don't we open up that jaw box?
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
We got a box! Oh, what's in the box?
Matt, the only item we threw in, it was an inquiry by me about a tweet that I saw that said Tron 3 was in the works at Disney.
This is a good rumor. Juicy.
Well, did a little research here, and there's multiple sites reporting that Disney is once again looking to continue with the Tron franchise, and that Tron 3, which at one time was called Tron Ascension, now will be starring Jared Leto, and they're trying to get Daft Punk to return to do the score. Of course, you'll remember the music in Tron Legacy was awesome.
Yeah, so, probably one of the best parts of the film, honestly.
They're trying to get Daft Punk back, but yes, Tron 3 back in the works at Disney. That's pretty exciting.
That's very exciting. Any word on the dude and or Bruce Boxleitner?
No, all it says is that they're really centered on trying to get Jared Leto on the cast.
Okay. I mean, I'm down for a Jared Leto movie here and there. He's had some good stuff.
No doubt about it. That was everything in the jaw box, Matt.
It's a small jaw box this week, Rye.
Yeah. It is a good time, at least before we close it, to remind jawheads, we're celebrating Charlize Theron because she has the movie The Old Guard out on Netflix right now. We're going to be talking about it next week. So watch it, get ready for it. And if you have any thoughts about it, shoot us a tweet or an email. Let us know. All right, that's everything. Let's close this jaw box.
All right, Ryan. Sony made a big war movie with Tom Hanks. It was going to be a big hit in the theaters. Lo and behold, Apple bought it. I understand you and Chuck were able to stream it.
What if they took the climactic scene of a great war movie and turned that into an entire film? We get the answer with Greyhound.
Dear Lord, let your holy angel be with me, that the evil foe may have no power over me. Into your hands I commend myself, my body, and soul. Amen.
Once the action starts in the latest Tom Hanks film, it does not stop till the credits roll. This was an adrenaline watch if there ever was one. As great as the effects are on screen, I found the music by Blake Neely to be an element that pushed me to the edge of my seat. Tom Hanks plays Commander Krause on board the Greyhound. Their ship is part of a 37-boat convoy that is trying to cross the Atlantic with supplies for the British. They are being hunted down by a wolf pack of German U-boats. The plot is simple and to the point, and for what this film is trying to do, it worked. There is a shot here of Tom Hanks putting on his combat helmet, which will echo back to Saving Private Ryan. This shot also gives us comfort knowing that Hanks is in control. This is a film about leadership, about making the best decisions for your crew, and finally, it's about teamwork. You may find yourself trying to keep up with the dialogue, and that's done on purpose. It shows us just how prepared and mentally ready everyone has to be to overcome great obstacles. Oh, how I long for leadership like this nowadays. With a runtime of only 85 minutes, some may feel they needed more. For me, it was just enough. Side note here, this movie contains the scariest waves on screen since Interstellar. I was a big fan of Greyhound. Chuck, how do you feel about it?
You hit the nail right on the head here with this. It is a great war film. It is something that, and we were talking before this, I'm hoping it's something that we eventually see on the big screen because it has that epic feel to it. It really, and I love movies. You were talking about place earlier. I really did think that I was out in the middle of the ocean. I really did think I was trapped on this boat, especially as it starts to get torn apart. It really does have that sense of, I don't want to say claustrophobia because they're out in the middle of the ocean, but still there is a feeling of being trapped within this thing as it's going on. It's a great war movie, but the thing that I found myself appreciating was this whole notion of these guys pulling together. Just pulling together in order to accomplish this goal. And it's something that has become, far too rare right now. I mean, when you look at the situation we're in now, as far as this country is concerned, I have a feeling as I was watching this film that these people who fought in World War II would look at us in complete disgust and wonder why they fought. And that we have come so far in such a short amount of time. That was the thing that really shook me about this movie. The other thing I couldn't get over was the director, a guy by the name of Aaron Schneider. He's directed one movie. He directed Get Low all the way back in 2009. That's his only other feature film credit.
Oh, that Robert DeLow movie?
Yes,
Robert Duvall?
With Bill Murray, yeah. And you couldn't think of a movie more different of that to this. And the guy just nails it. I mean, this movie just steadily builds the tension, and you're on the edge of your seat. And thank goodness it was only 90 minutes. If it were any more, I probably would have been completely exhausted. But I really did enjoy it. I was a little leery about it because of seeing it on the TV. But it's just one of those things that you just get sucked in within 10 minutes, and away we go. And what can you say about Hanks anymore? I mean, he's gotten to be the guy that, I don't know if we take him for granted. I think we do a little bit. But, he's just become that solid presence. And no matter what he's in, it all revolves around him.
And in a movie like this that isn't going to spend a lot of screen time and runtime on character development, it helps to have an actor like Tom Hanks, because as soon as he comes on screen, we know exactly what this is. We got it. This is Tom Hanks, captain of this ship.
Yeah, and I mentioned in my written review, that this movie also reminded me of movies that came out in the 40s, in that how economically they are narratively. Within 10 minutes, oh my God, they've fallen in love. Within 10 minutes, oh, we're on the adventure. Those movies didn't waste any time, and this one didn't either. And I found that refreshing too. I mean, away we go right out of the gate.
I guess the big question, Chuck, is, since this is an Apple Plus exclusive, would you recommend someone to get Apple Plus to check out Greyhound?
Well, I think they give you a 7-day free period and then you can cancel. So yeah, what the heck? I think Apple Plus is what, $6 a month? $6 a month. And I think you can cancel at any point. Yeah, I would. We were talking about this a little bit before. I'm not quite sure how this made sense for Apple Plus to pick up this movie. Did they think they were going to get that much of a bump as far as subscribers on this thing? I know they have the rights to this movie for 15 years. So it's going to be a cornerstone on Apple Plus if it lasts for 15 years.
Yeah, but they spent something, from what I read, about $70 million for the rights to it. I mean, it is a big chunk of change.
It is, and what surprised me as I watched this, I looked it up, the budget on this was only $55 million, and it looks like a much more expensive film to me.
Yeah, that's the magic of the special effects. And I think that where the investment makes sense is, Chuck, you're recommending people check out the Apple Plus service, and a lot of people, even if they're going for the free trial, just go ahead and forget to unsubscribe. Many subscription services are bolstered by that strategy, and plus Apple can just afford it. So why not buy a Tom Hanks solid hang your hat on type movie? Seems smart to me.
Yeah, and the whole big thing with Amazon and Netflix in past years is, they've been jockeying to see the Oscars, how many Oscars they can win. Hopefully Apple is going to push this for the Oscars. Hopefully we get to see it on the big screen for an Oscar push. They could end up winning one before Netflix or Amazon with this thing, because it's definitely a contender.
Well, I mean, Jobs did it with Pixar, so why not?
Yeah. Movie poster quote here I had, very simple, Matt. Hanks, war movie. What more do you need?
Yeah. Do you think he's being typecast at this point in his career?
No. I mean, they're doing all war movies. This is really only, if you count Bridge of Spies, I guess it's a war movie, but it's not really a war movie. This is really his first war movie since Saving Private Ryan.
As far as the typecasting goes, that's why I'm so intrigued by the Elvis movie where he's going to play Colonel Parker.
I guess I should say he's typecast as a leader at this point in his career, right? He's always the captain or the leader, the pilot, the man steering the ship.
That's what he is. I mean, that comes with that Tom Hanks credence. you know?
And
Gravitas and age. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. I love the guy.
How many Jaws, Chuck?
3.5.
3.5 Jaws from Ride the Movie Guy also. So we're big fans here. So check it out, Jawhead.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen to that music play, Matt. Listen to that music play. That can only mean one thing, and it's time to play trivia.
All right. I'm ready.
We just got done reviewing Tom Hanks' latest film, Greyhound. So why not play, I thought, Tom Hanks' quote movie trivia. This is an actor that everybody knows so well, and he's given us so many great movies, so many quotes throughout the years that I picked 8 quotes, and I didn't give you all layups. I went 2 easy ones to get everybody going, and then they're going to progressively get harder. Now, Chuck, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first. Let Matt K go first. There are steals if somebody doesn't know it, and if you get hung up on any question, you do get one lifeline. Rescue me, Ryan. I do have clues to all the questions.
All right. Well, I'm going to let Matt go first so I can see how this thing works.
All right.
Like I say, they start off easy. So first 2 are should be softballs in my mind. Question 1 over to Matt. There's no crying in baseball. No crying.
That is A League of Their Own.
That is correct. 1-0, Matt. Equally as easy here, Chuck. Quote number 2. All my life, I've been waiting for someone. And when I find her, she's a fish.
I believe that is Splash.
Also correct.
I thought you were going to say Wilson.
Question 3, or I should say quote number 3 over to Matt K. There are simple rules. No barking, no growling. You will not lift your leg to anything in this house. This is not your room.
That would be Turner and Hooch.
2-1, Matt K. Question 4, back over to Chuck. Chuck, short quote here. Are you ready?
Yep.
This town ain't big enough for the 2 of us.
This town ain't big enough for the 2 of us.
This town ain't big enough for the 2 of us. This is the first hard one of the game here, I think.
Dragnet?
That is incorrect. Matt, you got a chance for a steal here and to take a commanding 3-1 lead.
To me, that sounds like something Woody would say, and I'll just guess Toy Story 1.
That is correct. Wow. Toy Story.
This town, you pull his string, and this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us.
Forgot all about Toy Story. Oh, well.
3-1, Matt K. Question 5 over to him. Matt, here's your quote. Well, I'm not looking for a mail order bride. I just want somebody I can have a decent conversation with over dinner without it falling down into weepy tears over some movie.
That sounds like one of the Hanks Ryan rom-coms, and it could be either one of them, but I'm going to go with You've Got Mail.
That is incorrect. That is incorrect, but you were barking up the right tree. Chuck, do you got a guess here?
I got a feeling that was Sleepless in Seattle.
Yes. Chuck is right back in this ball game.
I thought with the technological edge to that question, it was the You've Got Mail thing. Oh well.
3-2, and question 6 is over to Chuck. He can tie it up right here. Chuck, your quote is this. I guess sometimes the past just catches up with you, whether you want it to or not.
How about Catch Me If You Can?
Oof. That's a good guess, but it is incorrect. Matt, you got a chance for a steal.
Road to Perdition.
Wow, another quality guess, but incorrect. We were looking for The Green Mile. The Green Mile.
Okay, yeah.
The ball game stands as this. It's 3-2, Matt. Question 7 is over to him. He can win it here, or we continue. Here we go. Matt, question 7. Your quote is this. I know what I have to do now. I got to keep breathing. because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide could bring?
Well, I would guess speaking of Wilson, if I had to take a guess, I would say Castaway.
That is correct. That is Castaway, yes. That is he's going to win this one, but the last question, we'll throw it over to Chuck. Last question or quote to you is, there's no greater joy than seeing through the eyes of a child, and there's a little bit of a child in all of us. There's no greater joy than seeing through the eyes of a child, and there's a little bit of a child in all of us.
Would that, I hated this movie, but was it extremely loud and incredibly close?
No, that is incorrect. Matt, any guess on this last?
I was not incredibly close on this.
So that sounds like Walt Disney, right? Is that Saving Mr. Banks?
Oh, very
Wow,
good.
you
Very
are on
good.
top of this, Matt K. It is.
Shit, we should votes every week, man.
I feel like I was led down the garden path. You said you weren't any good at that, Matt.
You know what? It's hit or miss with me, Chuck. Sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off.
All right.
If it came down to a tie, we call it a jawbreaker here, Chuck. This question would have been over to you. Better Tom Hanks performance that didn't win him an Oscar, Saving Private Ryan or Castaway?
Castaway, no question. I mean, when you're on the screen for 45 minutes by yourself talking to a volleyball, and I'm completely engaged, you're the winner.
I agree with that.
The real jawbreaker was this: age of his co-star in Toy Story, Tim Allen, closest to. Matt, you got a guess on Mr. Tim Allen?
Tim Allen. Okay, so here's how we gauge Tim Allen. He was on Home Improvement in the early 90s and was already in, I would say, his early 40s on Home Improvement. So Tim Allen's got to be pushing 70 years old. I will say he is 68 years old.
Lock him in at 68. Chuck, do you got a guess?
8 years old. Let me see. I think that's about right. I'd probably, I guess I'll do the Price is Right thing and just go a couple below you and just go 66. But yeah, I think your math is good.
Right in the middle, 67 years old for Tim Allen.
And there we go.
We split it.
There we go.
Well done, guys.
Yep.
It brings us to the end of a great
virtual handshake, Chuck. There you go.
There we go. All right.
Wow. That was scary. Matt's fist was right in the screen. Brings us to the end of a great jaw. And first and foremost, we got to thank Chuck for coming on Cinemajaw. This has been a blast.
Hey, I had a great time, guys. If you ever need me again, just give me a call. A lot of fun.
Will do, man. We got to, and can't wait to have you in person in studio, hopefully sometime later this year or early next.
That'd be great. We can get Pam in there and pick on her, all three of us.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That'd be fun. Thanks, Chuck.
You bet. Thank you. Take care.
And Matt, we got to thank our sponsors.
Yes, thanks to Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op, who help us get great sponsors like them.
If you want to support Cinemajaw, the easiest way to do so is by leaving us a review. Really, honestly, these reviews help attract new listeners.
And so does clicking the subscribe button. One little extra click for you, and it really does help us out tremendously. You can also, if you're interested, join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Cinemajaw. It's a great way to support the show and unlock some perks.
Until next week, I'm Rad, the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies.